while we are all one, yes we are one stream of consciousness focused with many different intentions from many different perspectives. When you get it, that there is this vibrational relationship between any point of consciousness and the true source of that point of consciousness, and to the degree that that point of consciousness can feel its alignment with that source, to that degree we do become one mind. But do not miss the point of all of this. Source, or all that is, does not want the collective consciousness to come back to one point of perspective or to one intention. It is a wonderful thing to hold a myriad of intentions, which is necessary in an environment where there is a myriad of contrasting experiences. So when any individual like yourself reaches for your personal alignment and can feel it come into alignment, now you have joined the one. Now you have joined the power. Now you have joined the collective force or source of well-being. And now you are providing for yourself that alignment, but you cannot provide that alignment for anyone else. Everyone else has their own individual guidance. You talked about how maybe it's unconscious. Maybe there are people that at an unconscious level are separated from their guidance. But we say nothing's really happening at that unconscious level, because if it is really inactive, then it is not part of your point of attraction. And if it is active, if something that matters to you is active in a contrasting way, you feel negative emotion. If something that matters to you is active within you in a beneficial, aligning way, you feel positive emotion. And if you're not feeling any emotion, then it's not active enough that it's a big player anyway. So unconscious things aren't happening to people. And if contrast is happening, all it's doing, it just makes a bigger mess of it, which makes you more consciously aware that there's something that you want to be different. In other words, it does not matter. The further from where you want to be you are, the stronger the rocket of desire you launch about where you want to be. And so you're saying, how can we get together and in a more effective way help more people realize the power of who they are and realize the clarity of who we are? And we say, through the clarity of your example, that's the way you teach it. And the thing that we so much want you frustrated teachers to hear is that if somebody is vibrating here on the emotional scale and you're vibrating here on the emotional scale, they cannot hear you. But out there somewhere is a teacher that's vibrating closer to where they are. And once they make that jump, there will be a teacher who's vibrating closer to where they are. And once they make that jump, there's a teacher that's vibrating closer to where they are. And let's not any of us count one vibrational teacher as more beneficial than another, because everybody is where they are. That's why we say, make peace with where you are and let this journey, let your work be about aligning the vibration within you. And when you do, things straighten up for you right away. And people who are then ready for you find their way to you. And then you can say, well, let me tell you what I've come to know. I didn't always consciously know this, but I'm realizing that the better I feel, the better things go for me. And there were a lot of things that happened that I used to carry around like a badge of honor. They used to talk about and activate, that I don't activate anymore because I don't want to keep bringing them into my experience. It's reaching the point where when you say you create your own reality, many people are agreeing, even though their next question is, well, if that's so, how do I do it? And when people are ready to understand that they do it, and they want to know how, then they're ready for the likes of you. But until then, the likes of you just irritates them, and you can't dabble in their experience. We know, we could feel it happening when we began talking with this fellow about how he could improve somebody else's game. We know that there are two things that happen. The first thing that happens, it makes you feel powerless because there are a lot of games you'd like to dabble in. In other words, there are a lot of people who you would like to positively influence in one way or another. And the other thing that happens is it makes you feel a little vulnerable that somebody else might have the ability to dabble in your game. In other words, what if somebody who thinks that warts on the end of people's noses is particularly attractive would wish one on the end of my nose? And what if they had the power to focus it there until it showed up? And we say, nobody can create anybody else's experience. All you can do is shine a spotlight on something they already want, and then make the trail to what they are wanting easier for them to find it. But you cannot create in someone else's reality.
However, I'm just going to throw this out because this is one question I asked. Then it gets into what is the truth? And who are the powers that are manipulating the 95% who are unconscious? My healer friend says 80%.
But here is the thing. Everything is true. Sometimes people will say, Abraham, I need to focus on this. It's true. And we say, so you're looking at this truth that you don't want, and you're saying somebody else focused on it and activated in their vibration long enough that it became a dominant enough point of their point of attraction that it manifested in their experience. And because they have manifested this unwanted thing, and it is true, it's documented, then I should do it too. And we say, that's really silly. What you want to do is realize that there are true things that you want to create in your experience, true things that you don't, but you want to let the criteria for your willingness to focus upon it be how it feels when you focus upon it. Is this perspective that I hold compatible with the perspective of my inner being? Every subject is really two subjects. There is what is wanted and absence of it. And you can tell by the way you feel which end of the stick you are vibrating near. And what we want you to hear is that your inner being and your source is always vibrating on the good feeling end of every stick. Your source wants and expects and knows your well-being. So when you get apart from that vibration, you cause a vibrational separation between you and your source, and everybody else is doing the same thing. We do not agree with the premise that 95% of the population is being manipulated by someone else. We don't agree that any percentage of the population is manipulated by somebody else, because we don't agree that anybody else can vibrate for you. We do acknowledge that there are vibrational influences, and we also acknowledge that the majority of people offer the majority of their vibration in response to what they're observing. So therefore, we acknowledge that the platform on which you are standing is a very strong influential point, which is the same thing as saying most people offer most of their vibration in response to what they're observing. So they're observing what is, they're offering a vibration about what is, which causes them to equal a point of attraction about what is, so they manifest more of what is, they become a bigger component of what is, which means they observe more of what is, which means they offer a vibration about what is, which means law of attraction gives them more of what is, which means they observe more of what is, and which means they offer a vibration more about what is, which means law of attraction gives them more of what is, which means they offer a vibration more of what is, which means, and this is what you're sort of feeling uncomfortable about. But we want you to understand that everybody is free to offer a vibration, and these seminars and so many like them are about offering your vibration as the criteria of how the thought feels, not whether it is already manifested or not. You cannot create an improved reality by focusing completely upon the reality that exists. You cannot continue to think the same thoughts and make any changes in your life experience, you see. But someone else is not controlling your thoughts. Someone else is just out there being an example that you could follow or not. So it's not that there are negative examples that are out there. It's that there are lazy focusers that are out there. It's that there are people that are out there focusing with no regard about what the focus means. It's that there are people out there that haven't quantified their journey. They want to be well, they just can't tell when they're moving in the direction of wellness, because 99% of the creation is complete before there's any physical evidence. So even though they feel a little better, somebody will say, oh, well, that's just false hope. You're just fooling yourself. You can't cure yourself of this illness. Just because you think you're getting better doesn't mean you're getting better. There's no evidence. Look at what is. And we say, no, don't look at what is. If you look at what is, there will never be any new cures to anything. If you look at what is, there will never be any new cameras, any new computers, any new technology, any improvement, any new generations, if you only look at what is. But fortunately, there are dreamers, and we do agree with your premise that the majority of people are not really dreaming. The majority of people are looking at what is, but it's not a flawed system. It's a lazy population, or a misguided population, or a population that prefers to look at the marks on the faucet rather than feel the water and see how it feels. Somehow you've got separated from your belief in your ability to discern what's best for you. Here is where it starts. Here is the basis of all of that. Someone says, I want to feel good. It usually starts with your mother. And when you behave like that, I don't feel good. So you need to behave like that so that I will feel better. So you do your best to behave like she needs you to behave so that she can feel better. And in doing your best to behave like she wants you to behave so that she can feel better, you have to disregard how you feel, because how you feel has to be irrelevant if you're trying to do what feels better to her. Then in the bigger picture, you go to school, and now they have other things that they need you to do so that they can feel better. They want want you to quiet your mind. They want you to be still. They don't want you to be active. They don't want you to be varied in the things you want to talk about. They want to give you a handful of choices, and they want you all to put those square pegs into those round holes in some way. And then as this is all happening, as you are working on conforming to what somebody else wants, you're having little personal rebellions all along the way. That's your own guidance system saying, wait, the most important part of this is being left behind. And to the degree that you are able to suppress your own emotions and conform to what other people want, those are those of you who do get lost in the process. And there are renegades like you and like Esther and Jerry who don't get lost in the process because you're not willing to subvert your own desires for very long. You can put up with it a little bit, but that desire to discover who you are is such a powerful burning desire that is within you. You are much more than you see here in these physical bodies. You are source energy who remembers all of this, you see. So it doesn't take very many of you out here on the leading edge, remembering who you are and beginning to practice it before you begin to activate things all over the place that other people who are beginning to become awake to it become activated to too. We just don't want you to see the world as broken. We want you to see it as understanding, as expansive, as diverse, as varied, as improving, as feeling pretty good. And here's the most important point in all of this. You can't know how well anybody else is doing as they stand in the middle of their life, because you can't judge accurately the vibrational relationship for them. It's like you could take all that you know about living in this nation and you could go to an underdeveloped country and you would yearn for improvement in their life experience because you know how much better it could be. And you would suffer more for them than they are suffering for them, because your desire for them has skyrocketed in relationship with where they are, and their desire for them has not skyrocketed in relationship, because you cannot want beyond your contrasting ability to give birth to your own desires. So we think the reason that so many teachers are seeing this world more out of balance than before, even though we promise you it is not, is because your technology allows you to mix your world events. Your technology allows you to stick your nose in so many pies where your nose doesn't belong. Your technology allows you to evaluate so much that is beyond your scope of creation. And in doing so, you get yourself all out of whack on their behalf. There are so many teachers that are out of whack on behalf of a broken world that is not broken. And we say, clean up your own vibration and the world will look better to you. And the world looks better to you. The people that you can benefit or the people who can be helped by you will make their way to you. But if they make their way to you and you see them as broken, you've got nothing to give them. You've got to be able to hold the vision of them improving. And that's why when we say to you, make peace with where you are, we want you to make peace with where everyone is. We want you to make peace with the world events. We want you to make peace with where your friend is in relationship with where your friend wants to be. We want it to be all right where anybody is. So if you're a teacher, we want it to be all right with you where you are, because if it's not all right with you where you are, you will not be able to move from where you are into a better feeling place. So as a teacher, it has to be all right with you where anybody is, or you will not be able to guide them in another place. So Esther, as she saw this comedian languishing, she saw him frightened. She could feel that he was not in his stride and that he was not feeling good. As she watched him, she did not allow herself for very long to see him in his terrified space. Instead, she saw him as she knew him to be. She soothed herself by choosing of all the possible pictures she could choose of him, one that matched the picture that he was reaching for. And when she did, she felt it click into place, you see. We're asking you not to fan the flames of what's wrong in the world so that you can fix it. We're asking you to fan the flames of what's right in the world so that you can coax what's right to an even righter place, you see. Just get out there and live your life and love your life and radiate your life. Jerry and Esther have plastered across the back of their bus, life is supposed to be fun. And the dear man, who they don't even know, they just met him parked next to him in his beautiful bus, said to Jerry, that's not true. And Jerry said, oh yeah, what do you mean? And he said, life is fun. And Jerry said, you know it and we know it. Let's tell everyone who's willing to listen. Yes. But don't get upset if they can't hear you.